What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Steven here with another Neural DSP Q&A. How's everybody's week been going? A little adjustment here. All right, what's up, Zach? Aloha, Mr. Hard Rocker. How you doing, my friend? Carl, how you doing, dude? That song sounded pretty good, man. Let's see. All right, so I got questions and potentially you got questions, and I got potentially answers. So let's go ahead and load them up. Zach Manzano says it sounds like Eminem is gonna spit some fire. And Mr. Hard Rocker was asking what the song was. It's I got that in a free pack from Avid because I'm a subscriber to Avid's Pro Tools subscription. They give us free stuff every once in a while. So I got that as like a free royalty-free song. So I just used that and I liked it. All the rest are trash, but that's the one song that sounds pretty good. Tom McDine, does the Nolly plugin work at 192 kilohertz in VST mode? Yeah, it does. Let me turn that up real quick. Plugin Alley says that I am quiet, so let's go ahead and turn my microphone up just slightly. Hello. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Miguel Conde, what's up, dude? How's it going? Okay, so Miguel is asking why there's an option for MIDI in the preset list in Nolly Archetype. That's actually incorrect. That's a bug that they're going to be fixing with updates coming up pretty quick. So Mr. Hardrocker asks, when soloing with high gain using the Plini plugin around the E flat note territory when I play it, the left speaker resonates pretty badly, like crackling sound. Is this a speaker issue? That could be. Check your outputs and your levels, just to make sure that nothing is clipping on the way out. What's your interface, and see if you don't have something that you can monitor what your output level is, because if you're clipping on the output internally, then that's gonna distort your sound. You could have a bad speaker as well. That might be the issue. James Yellow, what's up, dude? How you doing? So Modern Vintage asks, hey Steve, what's up, dude? He says, what are your favorite Nolly presets thus far? Blood Eagle, the British High Gain, and D-Word are some of mine. Blood Eagle for sure. Sorry, I just finished eating. Blood Eagle for sure is a fantastic plugin, preset. And let's see. There was a couple other that I don't quite remember. Let me look at it real quick. Factory Nolly. I like the Hot Rod Heaven. It was the Vulgar Display, sounded pretty cool. Plus, I'm a sucker for Pantera, so yeah, just like a little reference to Vulgar Display of Power was really cool. That instantly got me interested in that particular preset. Okay, so Zach Manzano says, hey Steve, thanks for the CPU video. I tried putting my plugin on a guitar bus to save resources, which was indeed true. But for some reason, I tracked a left guitar, but it played back stereo. Check to make sure that your mono stereo button at the top is switched to stereo, just in case. Because the thing is, in Pro Tools, you have two different types of stereo plugins. Like you have multi-channel and you have multi-mono. And I chose multi-mono because the plugin affects the left and right stereo field independently from each other, rather than the multi-channel, which affects both at the same time. So check to make sure that that's not an issue. But yeah, click the stereo, mono to stereo, see if that helps. Old Times asks, what's the supported impulse response length? I'm not sure. I generally don't create my own impulse responses, so I'm not 100% sure about that. That's a technical aspect that I'll have you ask Francisco when he comes on the Q&A. Modern Times says you must speak about the bass behind you. Okay, so I have a cello to my right. That's my cello. I love that thing. It's great. And then I also have a Fender Squier on the wall. It depends on which one you're talking about, because this is a cello. But it does look like a bass because it's pretty big. It's ridiculous. Not quite so portable as other instruments, for sure. Okay, so Barbaros Bensoy asks, can we use Nolly's cabinet impulses in case we want to use our amplifier and load box? Yeah, so okay, here's what you would do. So like if I had a professional digital load box, like, okay, so I have the 2 Notes Torpedo Live, and that is my load box that I would use to do like my silent recordings with if I needed to. So I would run my guitar into like my Mesa Boogie head, my head into my load box, that into my interface, but I would leave the cab section on the 2 Notes off, and then put an instantiation of the Nolly plugin on the track that's the input, and then just have the impulse response section open. That's it. Carl says Steven's emotional lead is a killer. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Danny K says, play the cello for us. I will do so. I'll do so another time. Actually, I want to work on a tune for the channel where I'm using the Archetype Nolly on the cello, because I do have a pickup for that. So I want to use the Nolly for it, but I want to make sure that it's good first, of course. So yeah, you'll see me play cello pretty soon, but just be patient. It will come in time. James Yellow says he just tried the Nolly plugin. He loves it, but no plugin competes with the NTS. Or maybe he needs more time to set up the archetype right. You know, I mean, like, the more I mess with the Nolly, the more familiar I get with the controls, the more versatile it becomes. Because once you kind of figure out like what the controls are and how you get that sound that's in your head to the sound that's on your computer, like that's where the magic happens. Like, I love the NTS. That's one of my favorites, because the rhythm style matches my play style so much. Like the tonal aspect of it is perfect for what I do, until this came out, and I love it. But yeah, I mean, like, if you like the NTs, I think that's one thing that kind of like I definitely want to get across to a lot of people, is that like, if you like the NTS better than Nolly, that's totally cool. Like, I feel like some people are like, but I should like this other thing better. Like, you know what? You're gonna like what you like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I saw a comment on one of the YouTube videos like, I don't like this plugin, and I just commented like, that's cool. You know what? Yeah, all right, cool. But if you felt like you needed to say that, you needed to say that. All right. I love it, and I think that there's such room for many play styles with the Nolly, though, where the NTS might be a little bit better just for like gain, like high gain and crunchy kind of tones. But you can't get some cool cleans out of it. But yeah, I think the versatility of the Nolly is pretty awesome. Okay. Okay, so Miguel Conde asks, what's the purpose of the delay pedal before the amp? And Carl says, check out Nolly's video. But the purpose of having the pedal before the amp is it's a different aspect of saturation, right? So like, having the delay pedals afterwards is you are delaying what is coming out of your speaker. It's like putting like the way that it is the delay and the reverb at the end are basically your effects loop, right? That's going to come after the power amps power amp section, so you don't get all of that saturation. However, when you put the delay pedal in front of the power amp section, that's where you get all the saturation and distortion on the additional delays. That's why in the video, when I broke down like the components of the Nolly, I advised to go with low gain, like a lot of low gain settings with your pre-delay pedal. Otherwise, it just kind of gets a little too messy, a little too much saturation when you get the signal all the way through. So, okay. Modern Vintage asks, can you please name a few of your favorite Gojira and Behemoth songs? Since I got them into them, was that like last week or the week before? Let's see. Gojira. Okay, so like Gojira's From Mars to Sirius is the album that got me into them. And I mean, like, that whole album is great. Like, the songwriting, the composition, and everything. Like, I really, really loved all of that. L'Enfant Sauvage was really, really good. Adoration for None off of, oh gosh, what was it? I'm blanking on the names right now. Actually, let's see, Gojira discography. The Way of All Flesh. So The Way of All Flesh had a song called Adoration for None, and that one had Randy Blythe doing guest vocals, and that one is just it hits so heavy. If you check out the link as well, their album, The Link. Let's see if there's Embrace the World is awesome. And there's another song off of that. But anyway, so that's definitely Gojira. A Fire in the Void is a great song from Behemoth. There's really some great stuff. Yeah, Danny K says you can't go wrong with any Gojira. It's all awesome. I agree, 100%. They definitely have more riffy songs, or like earlier in their career, where they like sort of transitioned over to more like songwriting later on, which I don't think is a bad thing, because I think that that's just them growing as artists and making good songs and focusing less on just making riffy kind of songs. So I don't see that it's necessarily a bad thing. Modern Vintage says, I bet you could nail a Reptile cover with the cello and the Blood Eagle plugin. You're not wrong. I might try it. I don't know. I got a couple of hours to kill after the stream, so I might try that out. Sebastian Smith asks, Neural have nailed guitar and bass. Anything coming for vocals and drums later? I'm not sure. I think that that's probably something that they've thought of and that they want to go with, but I don't know. I don't know if that's something that's in the works currently. Modern Vintage says that the Nolly reacts far more accurately to volume control or volume knob rollback than any other plugin, and most modeler presets and profiles he's tried. The weight of the notes are retained. Yeah. I definitely agree. As far as how it reacts to real amplifiers, it's one of the most accurate, I feel, because when you turn up your knobs, and let me go ahead and switch over to my thing here. So like when you start like rolling back the gain, like you can actually feel like it does feel real. Like that weight and that meat behind the signal is there. And it's really cool. It's really dope. I love what they're doing. It's amazing. Let's see. Dimitro Mats asks, what's the second amp modeled in the archetype Nolly? He can't figure out what it is. I can't say official names. Yes. But maybe you can say, was that HVE 51 or 5051? I mean, I think it's pretty much out there now that the third amplifier, the second one from the right, is 5150 modded. If you do some digging around YouTube and the forums, like you'll find it for sure. Again, I can't say officially what it is, but like just because copyright and trademark infringement stuff, so like I can't say exactly what it is, but like dig around in like the neural forums or wherever, and I'm 100% sure that you'll find your answer. Danny K says that Behemoth's new single is ridiculous, and yes, it's so good. James Yellow says his favorite guitar tones are from the Feared album Vinter, Lamb of God, Ashes of the Wake, and Nevermore, Dead Heart in a Dead World. Would be interesting to make a video on how to get album tones. Yeah, so here's a couple of things that I want to start working on for the channel. So I'm sure some of you guys probably saw the Sound Like Tom Morello video that I did just this last Friday. And that got some pretty good feedback, actually. I was pretty surprised that was something that everybody really, really wanted, especially when it came to tones that were not specifically metal, which I'm super down for. So that's something that I really want to get more into, is creating tones that mimic or emulate the tones from albums that people like. So if you have suggestions, then definitely either leave them in the comment section or hit me up on Facebook, leave a comment in the Facebook group, whatever. Like, so if you wanted me to take a look at like the feared stuff, Lamb of God, Dead Heart, like I think Lamb of God would be awesome. Like Lamb of God has been one of my favorite bands for a very long time. So doing a tone like theirs would be a lot of fun for me. I mean, it's basically just, I get to then learn a whole bunch of songs from my past and get to enjoy, I get to enjoy that aspect of being able to just, learn some cool songs and have some fun. Let's see. Let's see here. Dimitro, Obra Doom just left you some good answers in the chat. So there you go. Fear Factory tone from Genix. Okay. So Carl says that I should check out Fear Factory, Genixus. And Mr. Hard Rocker wants me to do Eddie Van Halen. Okay. All right. I think that would be really easy to do with the Nolly. I think that would be really, really easy to do with the Nolly. Dimitro suggests Ginger, Judgment, and Punishment guitar tone. Okay, cool. This is super helpful. This is really great because the reason why I'm here is because I want to create content that you guys are going to be interested in watching and to be useful and helpful in that, like you guys get to get out of these plugins what you want, and I'm here to help you get to that point. So yeah, that's awesome. Oh, awesome. Modern Vintage says that my Lamb of God preset for the Pliny is great. He uses it almost daily. I think I might be able to top it with an Ollie, to be honest. I think that I had to work a little bit harder on the Pliny to make that a good tone for myself, but I feel like I can again just do it better and do it easier on the Nolly plugin. So we'll see. Zach Manzano says he had a dream that Pliny did a Cliffs of Dover cover. I'll have to check that one out after the stream. But yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. So cool. So anybody else have any questions? 36 crazy fifths tone would be nice. Mr. Mathematics says 36 crazy fists. Okay, cool. I'm going to keep a list after this. Yeah, I'm going to create a list after this the stream is up so I can have all of these names in one spot. So yeah, again, if you want, tag me in a Facebook post if you like, and I can start making some content for the channel. Mr. Hard Rocker says he may sound funny, but I got some interesting tones going through Parallax with a guitar. The plugin rips. I I actually really want to try that for myself. I saw somebody posted that in the Facebook group. It might have been you. I'm not 100% sure. Um, I'm not even sure if you're in the Facebook group. Anyway, uh, uh, yeah. So I definitely got to check that out for myself because I think that Parallax plugin is super versatile. But I know that definitely there's going to be a couple of videos I'm coming out with the how to tone for different artists and stuff like that. I'm probably going to try and get the Parallax in there again. Um, Modern Vintage asks, which amps would you like to see become plugins? That's a good question. I don't know really. Because like, Neural has basically come out with like a lot of plugins that I didn't know that I needed until I played them. Um, like I didn't think that I was gonna want or need the Nameless or the NTS. I mean, like I heard that the Nameless was really great when I first came out, and that was before I got into the company. I heard the Nameless was great. All my friends were talking about it, and then I ended up just like demoing it, and it was one of those things where it's like I got it because I was doing a test mix for a band, and they gave me DIs, and I was like, okay, well, what do you want your guitar tones to sound like? And he sent me the video of the Nameless, which had just dropped recently, would like just like maybe a week or two before the test mix, and so I got the Nameless for them more than myself because I was like, well, I have a bunch of other things and I don't need it at the moment, but I got it, and then like I tried the demo out, and then I bought it like 10 minutes later because I knew that I was gonna use that forever. Like I guess I guess in a long roundabout sense, I'm just kind of like excited for what they have coming out because I just want to be surprised and just kind of shown what options there are rather than think of a specific amplifier because there's not one in particular that I love more than the other. Let's see. So yeah, so that's about it. So okay, New American Gospel. Is there any plan to allow for Nolly to blend cabs per mic options? Okay, so right now the only way to blend your cabinets is to do volume levels. But I think I know what you're talking about. It's I think the guys at STL Tones do it where they have like a percentage knob where it keeps the volume at unity and then just allows you to kind of blend back and forth. And I think that that's a good feature, and I think that that's something like I don't know if you guys realize that like the guys from Neural are paying attention to the Facebook post. They're paying attention to the comment section. So if you guys are wanting something like that, then like talk about it in the Facebook groups, talk about it in the comment sections. Like they are listening very intently to the things that you guys are asking for. So I think that it's a great idea to have. I'm not sure about when or if it's going to be implemented, but I think that that's a really a great feature. Okay, so Carl asks, what is your go-to if it comes about average RMS amplitude for metal music? A good balance between loudness and dynamic. Bobcat's K scale in use. Let's see. I don't know. I don't pay attention to it too much. As long as nothing is like I know generally when the line is about -6, -7, I know that that's going to be where I need it to be. but I tend to not think about it too much, because once I start pumping it up, if it starts to distort, then I know that my mix is off balance, or something like that. But I usually go for, like, I think RMS. I was using like the FGX to measure my RMS, and usually I'd want it around -10. But yeah, that's generally where I have it. If you can get it about there, it's usually pretty good. Let's see. Oberdoom asks, will you ever collab with Rebea Tosca for presets or a new plugin? I think that he has a bunch of plugin or presets on his YouTube videos. I mean, I would love to collaborate with him, like 100%. I think that Rebea is one of the most talented guitar players on YouTube currently. Like, I love his feel. I love his groove and rhythm, and his ability to compose a song almost so effortlessly. Because I'm a big fan of his. I've watched a bunch of his videos, like on how to write his songs and stuff like that, and there's something about the way that he thinks and plays with his guitar notes around like the meter that just works super well. But yeah, I would love to work with him. As far as like a plugin, I'm not sure if that's in the works or not. We'll have to see where that's at. And then, okay. So Modern Vintage is asking for a really liquid, not too high gain Steve Vai lead tone and John Petrucci rhythm for sure. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, that'll be awesome. I think that's going to be a great. I know like John Petrucci has been asked for in the past a couple of times. People have been asking me to show how to get rhythm tones like his, and I'll definitely do that for sure. James Yellow, he says that he uploaded on Instagram a part of a song he wrote, and he wants to have my opinion. Yeah, absolutely. Tag me in the video. I am at the real Stevesy. So yeah, hit me up, and I'll take a listen to it. I'd happily do it. So Modern Vintage, in regards to previous question, he says he's with me and he has the sounds he wants now and cares less about amps now than actual sounds. And yeah, I agree. I'm with you 100%, because I think that, like, if you went back to back on any of these plugins, I think you'll find that they're all very, very different. Like I think I mentioned this last week, where I was seeing some people selling their Nameless plugin licenses to get the Nolly, and I'm like, but they're two totally different beasts. And I get where if the Nolly fits your style more, and you like have like a more narrow focus, like on something that the Nolly can give you, great. But I'm never giving up the Nameless, because it's just such a good plugin for what it does. Miguel asks, can you tell us something about the new releases of Neural? Nope, can't do. That is not my area, unfortunately. Like, I know what's coming up, but I can't talk about it. Unfortunately, they keep their cards very, very close to the chest, which is understandable, totally understandable. And I'm looking forward to what they have coming out, and I'm looking forward to seeing your guys' reaction to what they have coming out, because it's getting more and more awesome as we go, basically. And I'm super stoked. Sans9B asks, will there be any pedal version for Archetype Nolly? Really like and love the sound. I think that would be a great solution for great for a live situation. Yes. Well, okay, so here's the thing. With playing live using these plugins, like the standalone version, if you have an interface and maybe a reamp box if you need it, and a solid state head, then you're pretty good. Like, you can actually, like, if I was invited to do a show, this is probably like a year from now, but basically all I'm going to need is my laptop and interface, my solid state head, and then out to my cabinet, and then I'll have my Nolly plugin just running straight through, and that's it. Like it's gonna be pretty cool. No need to do anything else other than that. But yeah, so like there's definitely ways to play these live. If you want, check out there's a video that I uploaded on the YouTube channel on how to get that. I think I did it for Archetype Pliny Live. So yeah, check that out, see what you think, and let me know if there's any other options you're looking at. Danny K says 8-string guitar to a Dark Glass X7 Ampeg rig equals devastating. Yeah, I like that. I'm all for it. Oh, Matthias says, Matthias says, hey, very grateful to Neural. I recently started my home studio and I just used Neural plugins for my guitar and bass tones and I'm extremely happy. Thank you. Yeah, it's my pleasure. I mean, like, it's funny because people have been thanking Neural like on these live streams and I'm like, I'm the YouTube guy. I'm here to represent the company and to answer questions and to make content that you guys want to see. Like, but these, the guys behind the scenes, they all watch the Q&As as well. So like they're getting to the right peoples. And I know that they're super happy when people are enjoying their products and, enjoying the experience of what they have to offer, which is very cool. So yeah. So from them to you, they express their pleasure. So Modern Vintage asks, I'm getting a bass this weekend. Is it worth buying Dark Glass pedals and such immediately for my interface versus buying Parallax Dark Glass plugins and such? Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I guess it depends on ultimately what you're looking to do, which is going to be the more versatile of the two. Because you can't really go wrong with either because the Dark Glass plugin is modeled off of the hardware and the Parallax is amazing. So, I mean, I guess it depends on if you're going to be staying indoors and if you want to be able to kind of have more flexibility or less flexibility. Because to me, like having the hardware units is a little bit less flexible than the plugins because the plugins, you can just make your adjustments in real time. Now, the hardware units, you can use those live if you want. You can take them out of the studio and it's much easier to do that. So I guess it just depends on ultimately where you want to be using these tools, essentially. Heretic asks, are you creating your digital amps with the help of neural nets deep learning? That's a question for Francisco when he is on the Q&A because I know that they have some stuff going on, but I'm not fully immersed into what they're doing to get this stuff sounding so good. I just don't know enough about it yet. So I have to educate myself on it to be able to answer your question fully because I don't want to answer questions that I don't know the answer to. So I'll have somebody else talk about that when they're on. So that'll be Francisco. He's one of the owners of the company. So. So Arthur Rowland says, hey, I ain't got no question, but I just want to say Neural DSP plugins are so over the top. I never thought I could get such incredible tones out of a VST. Sometimes it's hard to stop playing. Dude, I feel you on that. Like, I've spent hours just sitting at my desk playing on the plugins. They are so much fun, and the versatility of them and being able to swap stuff in and out, like especially like the Nolly using the delay and reverb at the end are just make it so nice. Dimitro Matz asks also for John Petrucci lead, and yeah, absolutely. Modern Vintage wants some Behemoth and Gojira presets, happily. Oh man, thank you. He says you nail it better than anyone else, and I really appreciate that. I really, really do. Ben, okay, so this is a good question. So, and I think I've answered this once or twice before, but Ben HG asks, he says, thanks for doing this. Do you think Parallax nulls the use for Dark Glass, or have you found that Dark Glass has other uses or advantages over Parallax? They're two completely different beasts, I would say, because the Dark Glass is more based off of the hardware. Parallax is something that they built from the ground up. Basically, they had need for certain aspects, and they were like, well, you know what? Instead of making it so, instead of mixing your bass by splitting the tones using at least 5 to 7 plugins, we're going to make it so that you can get this great tone using a singular plugin. And I think that they both sound amazing. They both have different tonal characteristics, though, I will say. Like if I played live, I would really have to decide. Like I would want to try out different aspects of the Parallax and the Dark Glass. I think they're both great for their uses, but I don't think that the Parallax absolutely nulls the use for the Dark Glass, because some people still prefer the Dark Glass over the Parallax, which is totally cool. But if you haven't tried, they do have the 14-day trials. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Tag me in the Facebook group or something. I'd be curious to hear what you think of one versus the other, because they do have very different functions, and one acts more traditionally like a head, and the other one doesn't, because the other one is basically 3 separate bands put together and mixed together, and then like compression on the low end is built in, where the other one is more like your traditional power amp section, preamp section to power amp section, that sort of stuff. So it's like the traditional versus the non-traditional. I think that the Parallax is very versatile, where the Dark Glass isn't as versatile, but I think the Dark Glass gets great tones that the Parallax may or may not be able to achieve, because they're built off of different models. So yeah, try it out. Let me know what you think. In a roundabout way, that's what I'm trying to say. Try it out and see what you think for yourself. Because I think that the Parallax is great, and the Dark Glass is also great. So, okay, so Zach Manzano asks, was there a date set for Plini's new presets that he teased? I'm not sure. I would have to look into that. Because I'm not fully aware of when I to be honest, I wasn't even fully aware that he was doing new presets. But yeah, so we'll see when that comes out, and I'm sure we'll see it on the Facebook group. Giancarlo asks, any chance to get an amp or sound close to the Diesel VH4? I'm not sure. Maybe the Nolly third head, but I would have to hear an example. Contrary to popular belief, I don't know every amplifier head and what it sounds like. So I'm not 100% sure. I would have to. You know what, Giancarlo, if you can post in the chat a good song, a good demonstration of that, I'll try and see if I can't come up with an emulation, or a good representative that's in the neural library right now. So yeah, so leave a comment in the chat and give me a song or an example of that tone, and I'll tell you what it is. So Mr. Hardrocker says, the tones of plugins are amazing. There's only one issue with plugins: interface-induced noise. He really hopes the Neural can do their magic with their digital technologies. Maybe. I mean, like, I haven't had much issue with noise. I mean, I do use humbucking pickups, so I don't have that kind of issue. And normally, I mean, I guess I haven't had as much issue as other people have. It might be that my setup's a little bit better. It might be that my rig is a little bit nicer or something like that. But I really haven't had that much of an issue with noise gating. So I mean, like, it could be that you're running into a lot of like electrical fields that are inducing that kind of noise, which at that point it's kind of out of Neural's hands. Like I recorded an album. This was several years ago, and it still hasn't been released. But I was recording an album for myself, and I was doing all the recording in my apartment, which was this super old, kind of busted building in Sacramento, California, and I could not clean up the signal for the life of me. It was so absolutely bad that you could hear the buzzing and humming over the guitar signal. Like when I was playing full riffs, you could still hear the I think it was like a 50 cycle or 60 cycle hum. There was a hum that you could hear over the noise, and it was really, really frustrating. And there was nothing that I could do to clean up that particular area. So I ended up having to take my stuff elsewhere to record, because at a certain point, there's only so much that you can do. Igor asks, do you think it will be possible to get the mobile versions of Archetype, Nolly, and Plini for iPhone or iPad, same as Bias FX? You know, we'll see. I think that's something that we'll be working on, but I'm not 100% sure. So keep your eyes open, and we'll see what comes out. Zach Manzano asks, do you have sound treatment panels pads on your ceiling as well? Yes. Let's see. I can actually just do this. I don't know where I'm at. Yeah, so I have panels up above me for my cloud, and then a diffuser a little bit further back. Camille asks, who will be next? Can't say, buddy. That is, it's against the rules. Or something. Okay, Zach Manzano asks, are you habitually using 1 or 2 mics per plugin? Do you have any noticeable pros and cons when doing so from a mixing standpoint? So I think you've probably seen what I do a couple of times. So let me pull up a track real quick. Okay, so this is from the okay, so this is from the 4 styles of metal that I did the other week. Okay, so let's just say, for the sake of argument, that I'm starting off with just default settings, right? Usually the first thing that I will do is I will check to see, like, so this is on default. Let's go ahead and listen to this. And as default starts off, we start off with the 57, right? Usually what I'll do is I'll unlink the cabs and then start popping around between cabinets to see what kind of overall shape sounds the best for this style. And I'll usually pop it in and out of mixed context. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that. Okay, so far right now, like, I think I went with the first cabinet when I first dialed this tone in, but let's just, for the sake of argument, say that the second cabinet sounds the best, and I'll call solo this out. Now what I'll do is I'll start shifting this microphone in place, and if I don't start getting like the additional tone that I want out of it, then I will just start adding an additional microphone. So what you can do is, take this dynamic 57. Now that I kind of got like in the ballpark of where I want to go, just start flipping through my impulse responses on a singular microphone, and we'll start listening to that. So right off the bat, the 57 sounds the best to my ears, but there was a couple of aspects of the other ones that I kind of liked. So let's listen again. I want to get this 57 in place, and then we'll add in a second one and see if we can't get more out of it. So what I was listening for is the individual 57 had this kind of scratchiness around the 4K range. And I started with the 421 because I know that one's a little bit, that one's also fairly bright. Whereas the 414 and the 160 were a little too rounded for my taste, for what I was trying to go for. So I went with another 57 and then just moved the position around until that sound, that scratchiness that I was hearing, kind of went away. Because you'll find that the way that these two microphones interact is by shifting tones or masking tones, like frequencies, and creating stuff out of the combination of the two. So we'll listen back and forth between one and the other real quick. Like, to my ear, that second microphone pushes a lot of like the higher mids more forward, which I really like. So let's go ahead and then start dialing in the tone after that. So. Okay, so the next step, I kind of messed around with some of the knobs on the head, but I actually wanted to take care of EQing the signal before it got to the head because it was a little too spongy. So I took the drive and I was comparing both overdrive pedals, but I think I like overdrive 2 for this particular instance. So yeah, that's what I would kind of do, is just go through your impulse responses, see which one gets you in the ballpark, the characteristics that you're looking for. Add the second one in if you need to. But there's been a bunch of presets that I've made so far with just a single 57 because it's a great microphone. And then go to your overdrive pedals and see if you need to pre-EQ your signal at all. Go back to your head, start messing things around, because like right now the head is barely touched, and I can do a couple more things to kind of push this tone a little bit further, but right now it's already sounding pretty usable to my ears. Let's see. So yeah, I guess again, like I'm kind of defaulting to a previous answer to something that was asked like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, that like one or two mics. I mean, like I react so much more off of instinct nowadays than I used to. Because I just am listening for the tone and kind of just letting things kind of mess around. And I'm not exactly trying to go like, well, I need two microphones for this part. It's like, it's whatever sounds the best is going to be the best. Uh-huh. So yeah, so there you go. So I think if you could do one microphone, great. But again, like adding that second impulse response is mainly just to adjust the frequencies so that way they complement each other. You know, some things get masked, other things get boosted. So like just kind of use your ear and try and find those things that you're looking for. Rodney Altenbaugh, what's up, dude? How you doing, duder? So Modern Vintage asks if you've played a lot of orchestral instruments, do they vary more or less than acoustic and electric guitars regarding feel and tone and consistency? Seems like cherry picking would be hard. Yes. So, okay, there's like a spectrum, right? I find that electric guitars are the most consistent. Like playability between electric guitars obviously is going to be a little bit different for each, but like you have the guitar, you have the pickups. That's like 98% of your tone, essentially. Like you probably get some difference in tone with like body woods and stuff like that, but it doesn't matter as much on electric guitars as it does on acoustic guitars. Acoustic guitars rely on each individual piece because they're relying on that sound box to create noise, to create sound. So that's a lot more variability. But then you introduce orchestral instruments where even there was, I used to work with a gentleman who was a luthier. He built instruments for a living. And I asked him one day if it like what matters when it comes to bowed instruments. And you know, like guitar players talk about the difference in picks, but here's the thing. His advice was, if I had $10,000 to spend on a violin and bow package, I would spend $2,000 on the violin and $8,000 on the bow. Like that's how different everything is. And I got to experience that because I worked at an acoustic guitar shop. So people would bring me their instruments all the time. Like I got to play like $50,000 acoustic guitars that just like, yes, this sounds superior to so much other things, so many other instruments. And it's because of the way that the wood is built and grown and put together, and it matters so much. And bowed instruments, I find, have the most variability in personality and playability than any other type of instrument. So yeah. So Felipe says, hey Neural, what's up, dude? Nameless helped me save a lot of money. He was about to buy a Kemper. When he heard our suites, he realized that the coming products would change everything. So thank you guys. Yeah. I actually was in that exact same boat. I bought the Nameless and I'm like, oh, this is the thing. This is the thing that's going to be forever good. Like I knew when I bought that I was probably never going to go with another company ever again after that, because it was so good up front. Luke Harris says, you should totally do some work with Joseph Stalin. His tones are magic. I agree, dude. And he seems like a really nice guy too. Like, doesn't he? Like from his videos, he seems like a really awesome dude to talk to. So yeah, I would absolutely love to work with Joseph. I think he's awesome. I think his riffs and his tone are fantastic. Matthias Ganster asks, do you mix in mono or just stereo? And he says, BTW, hi everyone. Hey, how's it going? Do I mix in mono or just stereo? Occasionally I will check in mono, but generally I mix in stereo from the get-go. Like I do, like, there are things that you can do to make your stereo imaging better at the outset that I usually try and do, but like some things that you can do are on your left and right guitar. Like, for instance, if you want your guitars to have more separation, what you could do is use different impulses on your impulse responses on your left and your right guitar. You could use stereo wideners. You could use a lot of different things, but I find that I don't mix in mono very often. Like I said, I will check in mono occasionally, but not religiously, I guess. And then Matthias has an additional question. Do you normally use a lot of EQing and post-processing with the Nolly VST? Nah. I think right here, this is all the post-processing that I do. So that and this. So I have an EQ. Now this particular section is played on my 8-string guitar, so it's a lot of low-end information. So I'll turn these two off so you can hear the difference between the processed and unprocessed. So that's all I have on my guitar bus is just a little EQ. So I'll explain what I have going on here. So first, I have the EQ. I have a high shelf around 74 hertz and a dynamic EQ dipping out some of the low bass around 150 hertz. Because I'm on an 8-string guitar and I want this to play nice with my bass guitar, I'm kind of trying to tame that down as much as I can. And then I get to my Sheps, which I really love my Sheps. I have a little bit of saturation, and then I have a little bit of top end boost. It's a shelf that starts around 8K, and I had it up a little bit higher, but that was for the previous mix. Like I said, I just dialed this in again, so my settings are a little bit different this time. So I ducked that down just a little bit, but you know, a little bit of saturation, a little bit of high shelf boost, and that's about it. I mean, I might do some compression if I feel like it's absolutely necessary, but generally, just a little bit of control, maybe a little bit of sweetening, and then that's normally how I post-process any of the guitar riffs, any of the guitar stuff that I do. So Modern Vintage says, speaking of acoustics, any feedback on good old TROM, favorite acoustics over 5K? Okay. I don't think that acoustic guitars get much better past I want to say $3,400. Okay, so I worked in an acoustic guitar shop, and my constant struggle with customers was like, is this really necessary? And it's probably just because I'm a very I'm a very simple person. I don't need anything very flashy. All I care about is how good the guitar actually sounds. So for me, it was a lot of trying to, like, just get rid of all the extra cheese, right? Like, I just want a good patty. I want it, like, and I'm talking burger metaphors right now, but it's like I just want a good patty. I want good toppings. I want a good bun, and that's it. Like, if you have to put a whole bunch of stuff on top of your burger just to make it palatable, it's not worth it. So like when it came to like, and I dealt with a lot of like the custom Martin guitars, shops. So like I got to see what they did, and I got to see like some of the best aspects of building a guitar. So like your your top wood, like spruce or something like that, would be, you know, probably the most important piece of wood on your guitar, you know, followed by your back and sides, then by your bridge and your fingerboard. Like that was sort of the order of operations I went with. So like when it came down to it, I found that the best, like, once you're going past like a certain dollar amount, you are just paying for extra novelties. So you're paying for the extra inlays, or you're paying for the, and this is like, you're paying, and like some people would pay extra just so they could say that their guitar was handcrafted, which I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all, but like, do you need it? Like, I get the romanticism behind it, and I get the idea that you want a person building a guitar from scratch. Like the idea is cool, but in my experience, a lot of that was just novelty and not 100% necessary. So yeah, so that's how I feel about guitar, like acoustic guitars specifically, that are over that dollar amount. Good Old Guitars was great though. Like for my money, like I feel like they had some really great stuff. I know that me personally, I want a Martin guitar, and I have the specs in my head as far as exactly what I want it to be. And again, it's probably going to sit around $3,400 to get it, but I think I'll have probably one of the best sounding acoustic guitars around. Mr. Hardrocker asks, is it better to use the VST or VST3 version of Nolly? It depends on your DAW, because I think that like Cubase uses VST3. Like I use Pro Tools, so I end up using AAX a lot more than the VST3. I think that my standalone is VST3 though. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. Adam says, "Hey Steve, finally able to check in live for a few minutes before going back to work. Thanks for doing these, bud. It's greatly appreciated. Dig these tones as usual." Thanks, Adam. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you got to pop in before going back to work, man. It's good to hang out for a second. Modern Vintage asks, do neural plugins feel and sound identical across all major DAWs and the standalone on the same computer? To my knowledge, yeah. I mean, like as far as like the going between the, because I've messed around with the standalone, I messed around with the plugins in my Pro Tools, and yeah, they all sound very, yeah, they sound identical. And I've opened them in Cubase as well, and that sounds the same to my ears. James Yellow says he should go to sleep. So everyone here, good night. Have a good night, James. Carlos, I've been seeing your comments, man. He says you guys should definitely make Archetype Vlog. Blood Mantra is the best guitar tone he's ever heard, and he's gonna bug us about it. Yeah, no, I get it. Vogue is the best, dude. I'm such a big fan of Vogue, and his play style is so good. Like, I was talking with a friend of mine, like this was a couple of years back, but it's like if like Pantera decided to make technical death metal, because it's like it's groovy and technical all in the same moment, and it works so well. He's one of my favorite metal guitar players for sure, especially with like the clarity of his playing style. He's so solid. I got to see them live in San Francisco once, and he's doing like this like super technical, like like really like technical stuff, and he's headbanging at the same time. I'm like, I'm not that good. I don't know, I'm just not that good, unfortunately. I just realized in that moment, I'm like, I can't be that. I'll let you be that. That's cool. I dig it though. Anders says the Q&As are so educational to a newbie. The Nameless is like the One Ring to rule them all. I agree. The Nameless is the Nameless is the Nameless, and it's so freaking good. Carlos says he's joking but talking seriously at the same time, and yeah, I get it. I mean, like, if I had any say in the direction, I would definitely go with Vogue for like the technical death metal stuff. Like, you know, if I had some input, I would definitely go with that. All right, so we're about 10 minutes past, so let's go ahead and put in last call for questions. What's up, Hosa? He asks, "Is that the archetype Yo-Yo Ma?" I mean, we'll see. We're gonna run some tests. We're gonna evaluate it. You know, we'll see what happens. Matthias says, "Thanks for explaining your processing, dude." It's my pleasure, dude. Honestly, like, you know, if you guys have questions about mixing, mastering, recording, by all means, you know, that's what I'm here to help you guys with. So, you know, feel free to ask me about anything. I'm an open book, and I have no problem sharing my stuff with you guys. Okay, so Modern Vintage asked a question, but then he retracted it. But I got a peek at it before you took it out. So if you're curious about the guitar that I want to get out of Martin, it is an HD28 custom with Adirondack spruce top, and that's basically what it is. And I want the scallop bracing. Anyway, okay, so you did ask, did you mention a special guest coming last week? I did mention it. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it just on just some technical difficulties on our end, but we are going to follow up with him and get him on the Q&A very, very soon. So yeah. Carlos says we're awesome. You guys are awesome, and I own both the Nameless and the Dark Glass. Yeah, man. Yeah, those are two just killer, plugins. I again, like the Nameless is sort of like a classic. Like, I love all the stuff that's coming out right now, like the the Nolly is so good, but again, like, the Nameless is a beast in itself, and I don't think I'll ever stop using the Nameless. So cool. Yep, we are. So Plugin Alley says, still going, I see. Yes, I am. I'm just about finished, though. So if we are going to call it a day, we'll call it a day. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming out and hanging out with me today. And we'll have that guest on pretty soon. Very, very quickly, Modern Vintage asks, is a D45 much better than a 28? No, it's not. I like the 28s. 28s. If you get a 28 with scallop bracing, you're good to go. Plugin Alley asks, that bass behind you, will you be running a DI of it into Pliny? Maybe, man. Just maybe. We'll see. All right. Thank you all so much for coming out to the Q&A. I love you guys, and I will see you all in the next one.